Hakata is the most hated skill tree in all of Type Soul. Since the game first released and peaked in summer of 2023, Hakata has always been hated. However, it is arguably the weakest it has ever been today. In today's video, I will be going over the history of Hakata and how it's changed over time to become what it is today and will soon become. Make sure to subscribe since only about 20% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. And also, as of this video dropping, I am currently live on Twitch, so come drop into my stream. Now let's get into it. Type Soul first released in the summer of 2023, when it originally peaked in players. Back then, a lot of things were very different, especially when compared to today. First of all, most players didn't have their modes. With the 175 raid win stage 1 requirements, very few people got to reach their Bankai, Full Resurrection, or Volsterndic. Also, skill boxes were exceedingly rare, being worth 15 Shikai rerolls at that time, along with Hogyoku fragments. And along with modes being so rare, so were their weaker counterparts like Visor, True Vastakar, and Let's Steal. This meant that the average person had no mode, no transformation or true variance, and no skill boxes, and really not much people had legendaries in terms of like their Shikai and their equivalents. I did because I got lucky and I spawned with Stark. Most people, however, had to work with commons, which were much weaker back then than they were today. Where today, commons like Bone and Acid and Poison are actually pretty good, back then they really weren't. Essences also didn't even exist back then, but even if they did, they probably would have been really rare. However, the biggest difference was the fact that most people didn't have skill boxes. This meant a few things. First of all, skill box moves had little counter knowledge, so most people didn't know what to do against most of the skill box moves. You would think this meant Shori was OP and basically a free combo back then, and Hakata would reign supreme, but Hakata wasn't meta at this time. Speed was the #1 meta, as back then it did both more damage and consumed way less Reiatsu than it does now. And it was also just generally better for boss raiding, while Hakata is more of a 1v1 based skill tree. And along with Reiatsu stealing and regenerating gear in clans being better, speed was an easy choice for anyone who wanted to boss raid in the overworld back before ranked 1v1s were an option. However, the few people who did use Hakata over speed were generally seen as kind of overpowered, especially after the speed moves Waterfall Dance and Spectre Step had received huge nerfs. Hakata began to become much more dominant in the meta, being able to land huge combo strings for massive amounts of damage. And back in a time when people didn't know how to fight it well, skill box moves would essentially allow Hakata users to land free combos or even get more damage with moves like Death Flare or Gehenna, and back then, Hakata did way more damage with certain combos just killing people outright. Sometime before Type Soul's downfall, Hakata had gotten many nerfs to move windups and lag on moves, and damage. However, this didn't really stop the issue of Hakata being hard to play against. It didn't matter at the time though, because the game was dying and really nobody expected it to ever come back the way it did. Upon Type Soul's re-release, a lot of things changed. First of all, since the re-release, the stage 1 for mode requirement became 13 raids, which is pathetically easy. Secondly, skill boxes and Hogyoku fragments were now a commodity, as well as Shikai rerolls due to codes. This shift meant a few things. First of all, everything was super common, and with skill box moves being meta, this meant the skill box moves would now need to be seriously considered for nerfs with how commonly used they had become. However, this also meant learning to counter moves like Shori became way easier because there were more people using them, meaning you would fight more people using it. Meaning Hakata would be overall weaker against better players who could learn its skill set more easily now that more people were using Hakata with moves like Shori and the other skill box moves like Death Flare and Gehenna. Also, speed at the time of re-release was no longer meta, and actually Kendo had been the #1 skill tree for anywhere from 1 to 3 months before Hakata would earn its spot in the top tree for 1v1s. Kendo became meta due to pressure shift, which at the time was a 1-frame counter with no end lag, and it does way more damage than justifiable for being a counter, and it actually still does do quite a lot of damage for being a counter, but this video is not on Kendo. Anyway, due to the pressure shift, Flower Passage, and Flower Petals nerf weakening the tree a lot, along with the Mortal Ties nerf and along with the release of ranked 1v1s, Hakata would finally earn its place. With the release of the Warden weapon, Quincy Hakata would become meta for a bit, as the Warden crit made it extremely easy to both start and extend combos on people, since the chain lasted way longer than it does now, meaning you could use the second crit to pull someone back in after the end of a combo and just start a completely new one. Hakata was also the best tree for 1v1 scenarios because of its long single combos and lack of AoE moves, while still being able to deal lots of damage to a singular target. However, after Warden was nerfed, Advanced Shunko was released. On launch, Fire Shunko was good, but it is currently the weakest of the three, with the best probably being Ice right now, with Wind being a close second or a side grade alternative. Along with Soul Reapers, Arankar started to play it because the Grimjow Claw up tilt is decently strong and gives you a little bit of Reiatsu back. But not only that, Arankars realized they can just spam. Arankar Hakata was already pretty strong, but with Sero variants like Sero Grab, which could be used to start, end, and extend combos, it was actually really good and pretty close to being as strong as Shori. The main benefit that you had going Arrancar over Soul Reaper for Hakuda was Spine Rend, which a Shunko user can't get because they have to put the points in speed. However, Spine Rend is a great move as well as a great anti-defense option because it shatters through all hyper armor. Not only this, but the essence move Crazed Blitz had also become commonly used, which is an extremely powerful move which can be used to end combos, has hyper armor, shatters hyper armor, is a grab, and of course can't be dodged, and does about a third to half a bar of damage for free and takes no skill to use. No, I don't like Crazed Blitz. Don't tell me about the nerfs because I do not care. This move was nerfed, but overall Crazed Blitz is an absolutely brain-dead stupid move that's pretty much free damage and potentially a free combo escape against anything other than Hakuda, ironically. The aerial variant nerf it received was also quite negligible because you don't need to use it in the air. In Hakuda's current state, it is the weakest it has ever been in comparison to, pre-release type Soul. However, you can say that about every tree in the game except for maybe Keto, which is probably in its second strongest state of all time. So it's not much of a statement to make, so I don't know why Cetro said it in the Discord. Regardless, as it is now, Hakuda is really poorly done for its difficulty curves. Against bad players, it'll absolutely stomp, doing massive damage and having 9-move combo strings. But on the other hand, against good players, you'll be lucky to land more than a Crazed Blitz or a lucky Spine Rend out of a Hyper Armor move. A great example of this difficulty curve is Shori, a move which, when used against someone, will teleport you to them and then put them in the air for a combo. It's very good against someone who can't press the F key, so it's extremely effective in that case. However, the moment your opponent learns that it's an opener and they learn how to block and parry, it becomes nearly useless as it's extremely easy to predict and even punish. Because even if you land the Shori, Hyper Armor moves will often punish you for trying to get a combo off of it if you're not going to Spine Rend directly out of it, which usually isn't a great choice because Spine Rend as the second move in your combo is probably going to get you punished, or you're going to drop the combo. And on top of that, if you're a Shunko user, Spine Rend isn't an option for you. You either have really long combos, or you just do a lot of damage. So everyone is either on one side of Hakuda. It's either too weak or it's too strong, and the problem is that it's always going to be either too weak or too strong depending on who you're fighting. Good players can counter everything but Crazed Blitz. Bad players can't counter anything but Rising Kick, and that move has probably the second smallest hitbox in the game. It's too unbalanced to be nerfed or buffed, which is why the devs are currently working on reworking it. According to Cetro, the rework will be focused on making it more grounded, which means less aerial combos, and apparently he compared it to Uber Oni from Rogue Lineage for those of you that know what that means. So I actually can't wait to see how that turns out. The rework aims to make it stronger against better players and easier against worse players by making the moves more telegraphed and the combos more grounded. I won't be using it, but I probably will be talking about it. If you guys are hyped for the Hakuda rework, let me know what you guys think about that. If you think Hakuda is too weak or too strong, drop it in the comments and let me know why. If you think it's too strong, it's probably because you can't parry. But if you think it's for another reason, then let me know. Nerf Crazed Blitz, buff Speed Reiatsu. I hope you all enjoyed this documentary on homosexual Arancars and Soul Reapers. I love you all. Come into my Twitch stream. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.